Hello, and welcome to the session, Tools for Addressing Home Learning Challenges. My name is Matt Perini. I am the Senior Director of Content Development for Silver Strong & Associates and Thoughtful Education Press. And what I'd like to do in this brief session is show you how some really practical and simple tools can make such a difference in the levels of engagement and how we really get students and develop their thinking in this very challenging situation where all the learning is taking place in the home. So the tools I'm going to be showing you come from a line of books called Tools for Today's Educators. And as the publishers of these books, we're very proud of the fact that they consistently win numerous awards, but the award they win most consistently is the Teacher's Choice Award. And the Teacher's Choice Award is given out by teachers who use these books and these tools in their classrooms. And we're very proud of the fact that the practical and simple nature of these tools really speaks to teachers. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you how schools across the country are using tools from Tools for Today's Educators to make a dramatic difference in the kind of learning that's happening at home as schools are really facing this new challenge of distance learning. So let's take a look at some of the challenges that schools are facing when we're talking about home learning, and let's take a look at the kind of work that we're getting back from students from schools that are addressing this challenge. So one very obvious home learning challenge is students are complaining, and many of them rightly so. The experience is boring, it's drudgery, it's busy work, and there's no active engagement, there's no curiosity. And curiosity is such a powerful driver of learning, and we can really do a lot in a very simple way to capture students' curiosity even when they're working at home. And the tool I'd like to show you, I want to point out, look how simple this is. The tool is called More Alike or More Different. And it is such a simple but such a powerful way to frame content so that students are actively engaged. They're curious because it uses controversy, right? It uses controversy to get students actively curious about content. And look how simple it can be. Think about in a primary classroom, more alike or different, gloves and mittens. And when you think about a question like that, think about what's actually got to go on in a student's head to start to think through the challenge of, are they more alike or more different? First, you're creating controversy because this is a debatable issue, right? I've got to take a position. But look at the thinking that starts to emerge. Students start to think about, well, they both keep your hands warm, but they're made of different materials and they're designed differently. And once they start looking at the design, they get to the very important idea of form and function and how things are designed affecting their function. It's also a tool that increases students' cognitive bandwidth. And what do I mean by that? Well, one of the hallmarks of good thinkers is they can keep multiple ideas in their head at once as they explore them. And this is a tool that directly encourages students to do that by keeping two ideas together and deciding if they're more alike or more different. Look at all the ways we can use this simple tool to get students curious about content. Think about the question, chess and football, are they more alike or more different? And at first glance, students might say, well, of course they're more different. One is maybe the ultimate physical sport, and the other is something where there's only two players and most of the work takes place in the mind. But then students start to notice that if there's opposition and one opponent is marching towards another's goal, and they both notice that there's a lot of strategy involved in both. And so the way in which the similarities start to emerge becomes interesting. But look at all the other ways we can take what we're already doing in our content and pique students' curiosity by challenging them to make decisions, more alike or more different. And I love that last example. A 16th century literary rebel, Hamlet, a 20th century literary rebel, Holden Caulfield from J.D. Salinger's A Catcher in the Rye. Are they more alike or more different? Here's another home learning challenge, right? It's an opportunity to help students become better writers, believe it or not. And many schools see this as an opportunity to help students become better writers. But of course, there's a challenge. And one of the challenges is, how do we help students really organize their ideas? One of the critical elements of being a good writer and a good thinker is, can you organize your thinking? Good writers organize their ideas. And the tool I'd like to show you and the student work I'd like to show you comes from a kindergartner using a tool called Map It Out. And this kindergartner's teacher is using this opportunity of home learning to teach young students, primary learners, we're talking about 5-year-olds, how to think through and structure an argument. And this student has organized an argument. Yes, Halloween is the best holiday for this student, but notice the structure. 3 reasons. You get candy, you get to dress up, you get to trick or treat. And a conclusion. Noticing, structure, organizing ideas, one of the critical elements of good writing. And this is a tool, by the way, Map It Out. You're looking at a kindergartner example with argument. This is a tool that has lots of different organizational structures that we can use with organizers to help students really see what a good explanation looks like at multiple levels, what a great argument looks like at multiple levels, what a sequence essay looks like at multiple levels, and so on and so forth. Map it out, organize your thinking, and use this opportunity to help students become better writers. This is really probably the most common that we're hearing when we talk to schools across the country, what it means to actually engage students with content, right? We still have to teach content, and many schools are using Zoom or some kind of online way to do classroom presentations. Students still have readings, they're watching videos, but they're not actively engaging with the content. And the tool I'd like to show you that addresses that problem is called Window Notes. And this may be my very favorite tool for using in a home learning scenario because it's so simple and it teaches students something so valuable. So what we ask students to do is take a piece of paper and make a vertical line and a horizontal line. And now you've got a window, 4 panes. And think of that window as a window into your own mind. And when you are engaging with new content, whether it's learning or watching a presentation or a video, yes, we collect facts. Facts are an important part of what it means to learn and take notes. But many students confuse notes with trying to copy everything my teacher says or trying to copy everything from the book. So it's not just about collecting facts. You see, it's also an opportunity when we learn new content to ask questions. What are you curious about? I love that question. Did they play sports in the colonial times? You can hear the mind of a young student. This is a 3rd grader's work. It's also a tool that reminds students to make connections. Learning that sticks is learning that a student can connect when they can connect that new learning to something they've already experienced or prior learning, encouraging students to make those connections. And last and certainly not least, an opportunity to remember that learning is not just a cognitive act, it's also an affective act. It has a heart as well as a mind. What are your reactions? How are you feeling about what we're learning? And I love this 3rd grader feels bad for children in colonial times because their punishments were so much harsher than the kinds of punishments that students get today in the 21st century. So notice how simple, 4 panes, 2 lines, a window into thinking, and active engagement with new content. The last challenge I'd like to explore with you is it's very hard in this environment to get students to be thinking big. You know, conceptual thinking, what is one of the great hallmarks of great thinkers. They can think about concepts and big ideas and then organize facts and details around those big ideas. But how do we get students to think conceptually in this environment? And so the last tool I'd like to show you is called association triangles. And again, simple is the name of the game. If it's not simple, we can't ask teachers who are so challenged at this moment and struggling to really find new ways to keep students engaged, we can't ask them to be putting difficult things into practice. Look how simple this tool is. It is a triangle shape with 3 spaces for students to write 3 terms. And how we want to encourage students to do it is we want them to focus on critical terms that we're learning right now. So this is a unit on the design of the US Constitution. And the student collected 3 critical terms: checks and balances, states' rights, and amendments. 3 very important terms from the unit. But then the challenge here is they have to make the connections. They need to write a sentence between each of those terms. And they have to use both of those terms in the sentence. And the sentence has to explain the connection between the 2 ideas. See, this is challenging students to use their minds well. Can you find the connection between big ideas? And then once they've made those connections, they've got to develop a simple, concise summary. Notice they don't have a lot of space to write. A simple but powerful summary about how all these ideas are connected in the big idea. And And this student writes, "The Constitution is designed to prevent the abuse of power, promote compromise among the branches, and protect individual rights." That is a student who has a deep understanding, a conceptual understanding of how the framers designed the Constitution. So the last thing I want to say about these tools is, yes, they're easy to integrate, and yes, we can really imagine how much more we can get students to do on their own if these tools become part of a repertoire. But there's one more thing here. It's that the busy work trap that our students are in is also something that a lot of our teachers are in, and it can be exhausting to constantly be looking for new ways to keep students busy tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. See, these are tools that help teachers actually, once they integrate them into their practice, it's less work for the teacher, not more. And why is that? It's because if the students start to become more self-directed and can think on their own and can organize their ideas and can think conceptually, then it's less and less and less about providing them more activities and more about giving them challenging learning tasks that they can actually sink their teeth into and spend longer times on. And so it becomes less work for the teacher because the student on the other side of the computer now has more tools to engage in deep learning for a longer period of time. One of the biggest challenges of home learning is directly addressed through the use of tools. When we talk about tools, we talk about how simple they are, and every tool, no matter what tool, is really just an answers for simple questions that teachers have told us. These are the questions we need to be able to answer if we're going to use a tool tomorrow. So every tool tells you what it is in one sentence. Quick sense, is it a tool that I need that addresses a challenge I have? What are the benefits? Never more than a paragraph, simple explanation. What's the challenge it addresses? How will it impact students if I use it in the classroom? No tool ever has more than 7 steps, and steps are written to be very concrete, clear. They have tips, they have sample language you can use so that a teacher can visualize the steps before implementing them. The tools show how teachers at different grade levels and different content areas are using the tools, so you get a strong sense, a snapshot of what it looks like in real classroom practice. And last and certainly not least, many of the tools have something called teacher talk, tips, ideas, suggestions from teachers in the field about how to use the tool to optimal effect. And many of the tools also include reproducibles, and these reproducibles are in the book, but they're also available online, so you can download them and use them tomorrow with your home learning designs. And a tool like, for instance, Map It Out has lots of reproducibles because there's lots of different ways to organize thinking. And these organizers really help teachers help their students use the tool as a learning tool as opposed to just a teaching tool. So I hope I've been able to help you understand at least a little bit about how simple tools can help you meet some of the challenges that schools are facing in terms of home learning. And we're helping schools across the country use these tools so that they can transform the idea of homework, of keeping students busy, into home learning, where we're actually engaging students and helping them develop their thinking skills. And we can help you. If this is something that's interesting to you, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help you integrate tools into your current home learning designs to make a dramatic difference in the quality and depth of student learning. So with that, thank you very much, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.